in Europe. Sonia Legg is on the trail of the rail service to nowhere and joins us from the Kinnerton MOD base in Warwickshire.
Good morning. Yes, it's not surprising this story's been under wraps for so long because you couldn't get these railway carriages more hidden from public view. We've actually walked about a mile to get here this morning across several fields and over several fences. And the railway carriages are actually on Ministry of Defence land here in the heart of Warwickshire. You can just about see them behind me, behind that field of sheep over there. And they may look like ordinary railway carriages, but they are in fact more like five-star hotels on wheels. They cost around £139 million to build. That's £139 million of taxpayers' money paid for by you and me, and they are complete with five-star furnishings and fittings. Take a look at this.
They were seen as the future of European rail travel. High-tech carriages meant to challenge the airlines, whisking British businessmen overnight to Paris and Brussels. The carriages cost £1 million each and boast an impressive list of luxury features, including sleeper cars, bathrooms with showers, tea-making facilities, wardrobes, reclining seats and a plush bar. So far, though, that bar hasn't cracked open any champagne to celebrate its maiden journey, and at the moment the carriages look like they're quite simply on a fast track to nowhere.
Well, we've managed to get a little bit nearer to the railway carriages by cutting across that field. And if you're wondering what they're actually doing here, I can explain. It's a long and very complicated story. But first, just have a quick look at the plastic on the doors of those railway carriages. That shows you just how brand new they are. Now, the problem started back in 1992 when British Rail commissioned a report to see if luxury overnight accommodation was actually viable. The report came back and said, yes, it was. An estimated 75,000 businessmen and women would use it, travelling to glamorous destinations in Europe like Paris and Brussels. So the carriages were commissioned and work started, and all 139 were built. The problem was British Rail was privatised in that time. Eurostar took over, commissioned their own report, and that report found exactly the opposite. Apparently the business person was sticking to air travel. There was no need for them to let the train take the strain, so there's literally nowhere for these carriages to go. Eurostar can't afford to run them. They've got their own financial problems at the moment as it is, and here they sit, £139 million of yours and mine money, just sitting here doing nothing. This has to be Britain's biggest white elephant.
Certainly sounds like it. We're now joined from Clapham Junction by Richard Hope, who's former editor of the Railway Gazette. Good morning.
Good morning.
It does sound like a complete comedy of errors, doesn't it?
Well, the whole thing started as political pressure to make sure that the regions that would benefit from the Channel Tunnel, British Rail was under pressure to provide these services. There were several railways involved, 4 railways involved, and Eurotunnel. They all had their technical specifications, and we ended up with this very expensive train with nowhere to go.
Yeah, and it looks fantastic, doesn't it? I mean, particularly if you're just about to set off this morning and go and sit on a grotty old bone shaker.
Well, it does, and it is a real tragedy that these superb trains are just being wasted. I mean, essentially, they have scrap value. Anyone who wants them can have them for a very small sum of money, I would imagine.
That's what I was just going to ask you. What is the future then? That's it. They'll just be scrap valued, despite all those wonderful fixtures and fittings.
Well, I think ScotRail, who have the franchise for the sleeping car trains that's still running between London and Scotland, they have had a look at using these trains, but because of all the extra equipment that was loaded onto them, they're very heavy. They've taken a tremendous amount of electric power from the locomotive, and so far there have been no buyers.
Yes, sad. Sort of like mobile homes, but without the mobility, really. What about lessons for the future with this, then?
I didn't get that, sorry.
I was just wondering if there were any lessons for the future that we could learn from this.
Well, the lesson for the future is to make sure that you have a good business case before you make an investment of that kind. But there is one other major factor, and that is the security restrictions which the governments have put on to trains going through the Channel tunnels. These are unique in the world. No other trains going through the long Alpine tunnels, for example, have these restrictions. and this makes it enormously difficult to run sleeping car trains from the continental stations, which are wide open. Anyone can join a train without restrictions. And that's certainly the German railways have told me that that's one of the reasons why they've pulled out of the project.
Okay, Richard Hope, thank you very much for talking to us this morning. And Eurostar issued a statement which says that the investment decision was made in 1992, 4 years before Eurostar's parent company became involved and launched a review. In July 97, it was announced that proposed overnight services from the UK regions to Paris were not commercially viable and would not operate. The economics of services to Holland and Germany also look poor.
Okay, it's 6:41. You're watching